Redditors, what is something you have experienced that you think other people can't understand without having it experienced themselves? Losing your significant other. When that person dies, there is just this immense aching, bleeding thing inside you. But it doesn't stop with the realization that they are gone and not coming back. You relive it over and over and over again. When you wake up the next morning and realize that you have no one to cook breakfast for. When your friend calls and asks if you are still going to that play you bought tickets to next week. When the bills roll in and you just lay on your bed and sob and sob and sob. When you lose your significant other, you lose more than just your best friend. You lose so much of yourself that you had tied up in them. Literally your entire way of life. Little things you used to do will not make sense anymore. You have to become a new person. And then, years pass, the world moves on. No one asks you if you're okay anymore. They might even make snide comments about your so. It's been enough time, they think. It's okay to tell you that you were too good for them anyways. That it's better this way. And that's the best case scenario. More likely they will all have some herd amnesia, some fickle disease that makes them trail off at the end of a sentence and shuffle uncomfortably when you bring it up. You can't heal because everyone is frozen in terror that you might break down all of a sudden if they bring it up. But the worst part, that doesn't come in softly. The worst part comes one night at a steakhouse with your new partner. He's great. He really is. You love him because he is different. He looks nothing like your old so. He can't. You're out to dinner and a family tucks into their booth 3 or 4 down and the father smiles at you and you feel it somewhere inside you. You know that smile. All at once it floods you. Those creases at the corners of his lips. His hair is that dirty blonde color. The way he rubs his wife's hand as she looks over the menu. He used to do that to you. You want to run up to this perfect stranger and throw your arms around him and hug him and kiss his face and beat his chest with your hands and scream. I had this once, too. This was mine and it's gone. But instead you are stuck, barely breathing until your current so waves his hand in front of your face and whispers, "Are you okay?" He has that look on his face of understanding. It's not the first time it's happened. You excuse yourself and retreat to the car for a gross sob and eat your meal facing away from this perfect man with his mannerisms and his family. Go home and spend the next few hours in quiet contemplation just thinking about how unfair it is that people die on beautiful summer days in the middle of so many good things for no reason at all. The frustration that comes with owning cows. Whenever I tell people that I live on a farm that has cows, they get all excited and tell me how jealous they are. At that point, I just kind of laugh, and that's when the confusion starts for anyone who has never spent time around cows. Cows are buttholes. They do absolutely nothing but make their owners' lives living heck. Have to get to work? Cows don't care. Need to make it to a doctor's appointment? Cows definitely don't care. Wife is having a baby? Doesn't matter to the cows. Regardless of how much grass hay they have access to, cows will always break through a fence for no other reason than they're freaking bored and want to see what's on the other side. Then, you have to go and chase them. This wouldn't be a problem, except for the fact that cows are stupid, stubborn buttholes who don't know left from right or up from down. They might remember the hole that they made in the fence, but that won't stop them from trying to get back into their field by making a new hole in the fence. If you finally get them heading back through the original hole, there's the process of making sure you have every one of them accounted for, which never happens because there's always the one butters cow that has no clue what's going on and decided to wander 1/4 of a mile away. Then you spend 20 minutes making sure you can carefully coax one single cow to go back home to their land of hay and manure. Once you're finally able to get them back into the proper field, you've got to fix the hole they made. This isn't so bad. Just a new post here. Run some barbed wire. But look, the cows are trying to get back out through a new hole they just made. And now the process starts all over. I've had to cancel so many plans because of cows. People always think I'm bullshitting cripping them. But nope. Cows. Performing on stage and everyone approving of you. It's an amazing feeling when you're up there and everyone's cheering. But those 5 minutes right before are so anxiety filled. But afterwards I just want to go right back and do it again. Kind of. Panic attacks. Only people who have experienced a full-blown attack understand the sheer terror and the absolute certainty that you are going to die. You think you are having a heart attack and a stroke simultaneously. Your consciousness feels like it's receding into black nothingness while your body tingles or goes numb and flushes hot and cold. Your heart races at an alarming pace. Your thoughts are manic. You can't breathe. It feels like your whole body, mind and soul are self-destructing and literally going to die at any moment. I wouldn't wish a panic attack upon my worst enemy. And the fear of having one. Here goes a non-depressing one. For me it would be for all people who speak a second language. That moment when you realize you are no longer thinking before you speak but speaking naturally. I remember it as if it were yesterday. I said a random phrase, paused for a moment, and then realized I had said it naturally. Even writing it, I sound stupid. It's such an odd feeling to capture, odd in a good way. Then, from there, when you start to think actively in your second language. Some days I wake up in my native language, and others are definitely my second language day. I don't know how to describe it. And lastly, what comes with this is that my second language is so ingrained in me that I don't understand that other people cannot read it or speak it, that I can be looking at the news in my second language, and someone behind just sees random letters and characters. See, I can't even explain what I mean. Hopefully someone else knows what I am feeling. Yes, yes, yes. I know exactly what you mean. I wake up sometimes and realize my entire dream was in my second language. It's a great feeling knowing you have truly acquired another language. Why people choose to stay in abusive relationships. This is a great one. I just got out of one 2 months ago that I'd been in for 4.5 years. And a lot of that time, I just wanted to get out of the relationship so badly and I was so freaking miserable. But the prospect of changing every single aspect of my life was 10,000x more uncomfortable and terrifying than just staying stuck in my routine that I was unhappy in, but knew what to expect. Depression. Most of the advice I see posted for people with depression, also those that deal with self-harm and suicide ideation, tells me that the person giving advice has never actually experienced it. Being really poor. I've been near enough to know that I don't know what it's like either. I have so many friends who just fall back on their parents whenever they're in financial trouble. Sometimes it makes me so angry the way they operate when I feel like I've been permanently altered by having to scrape anything together for a meal. Stuck somewhere I was scared to live and trapped with mental illness and a job I hated. So glad to be out of that. Psychedelics are so much more than the crazy visuals that people think of. I have had some of the most amazing and terrifying experiences while tripping, but it's hard to explain them to people who haven't tried them. It is almost impossible to explain how they make you feel. Sure, there are crazy visuals, but there is so much more than that. Being so close to death that you accept it coming because there is nothing you can do about it. That acceptance is one heck of a feeling. It's almost a relief. Absolutely nothing matters anymore. Alcoholism. The allure of drinking is so great, and being drunk gives me such pleasure. That part of me doesn't care that it will ruin my life. If I were a cat with 9 lives, I would spend 8 of them drinking whiskey, eating Oreos, and playing World of Warcraft for eternity, until death. But I only have one, so I'm trying to make it count. Been sober 8 days on this round of sobriety. Wish me luck towards making it my final go. Enduring a miscarriage. I've been asked why I am so stoic sometimes. This is the reason. This is the exact reason. Never before had I gone from sheer fear to absolute excitement to complete panic to a broken shell of a man in a 3-month period. There are 1 million reasons why that was a terrible time for me to become a father, but none of them could justify the crippling guilt I felt for being simultaneously heartbroken and relieved when she miscarried. True social anxiety. Unless you've had it, you cannot comprehend it. Try to talk more is not advice, and it's a lot harder than it sounds. I'm not mad at people who try to help. I'm just saying that it's really hard to help unless you understand it, and it's hard to understand it unless you have experienced it. Just be yourself doesn't help much when yourself is a nervous wreck on the verge of a panic attack. Kidney stones. No, it's not like childbirth. I've experienced both, and would rather have another child than be rammed repeatedly in the gut with a hot poker until I pass out. Going through the concentration camp site Auschwitz I and Auschwitz II Birkenau. Such a sombering experience that my parents asked me to describe when I got back to the States. I can't describe how I felt when we were there. Seeing the fingernail marks in the concrete walls of the gas chamber, all the infant clothing and toys, and the room of hair. Just indescribable. chronic fatigue every day. It's nothing like being a little tired. It's like going through life at half speed and watching those at full speed run circles around you. I don't just mean physical energy, I also mean having hours of brain fog a day. You watch normal people get promotions, have better social lives, they actually go out late, have more fun, they enjoy physical activities, etc. At a certain point it just becomes your norm, and becoming some kind of homebody and lazy person is something you accept. You hide behind gaming, internet addictions, etc. Then this homebody habit, which is really just a coping mechanism for fatigue, leads to isolation, which leads to our old friend depression. Now your social skills never really developed, so you come off as a weirdo compared to your peers. The only other course of action is abusing stimulants, so now you're energized but you're not quite you. Coffee does nothing, so you megadose bodybuilder nootropic supplements or score illegal drugs. The thoughtful part of you has been replaced with the pepped up version of you, and you feel fake and borderline ridiculous. But at least you're getting things done for a short while. War. Terminating a pregnancy. People will always pick a side, pro-life, pro-choice. However, when one finds themselves in the situation dealing with an unplanned pregnancy, that decision may differ from the original stance. Never in my life would I have ever thought I would terminate a pregnancy. I was not pro-life, as I do believe in the right to choose, but I decided for myself that if I were to become pregnant at any time, I would choose to keep the baby. However, when reality struck, this was not the case. After careful consideration of my options and looking at all the factors involved, realistically, terminating my pregnancy was the best option. In my own life, as I cannot vouch for others' experiences, every single person, only those I knew personally, that were judgmental and mean to me before or after terminating, had never been in a situation where they had to actually make that decision. None of them had children either. Jesus Christ, you guys are depressing. I was gonna say true love. Eating disorders. I was talking with one of my friends and she said I actually have never met a guy who had an eating disorder. Well, I did for about half a year my junior year of high school. First person I ever told. What? No you didn't. Don't lie. So also opening up about something dark in your life and being shot down. Ouch. That's awful that they said that to your face. People who haven't had to deal with eating disorders have no idea how serious and scary they are. I'm sorry, man. Having no one believe your disability is real throughout your childhood, adolescence, even your family. Complete isolation. When people say every day your pain is all in your head, it wasn't, and you're just acting crazy or weak, you feel tempted to believe it. Then, when you're finally diagnosed and have proof your body will always be screwed up, everyone else's problems are extremely exaggerated and yours are totally downplayed, because it has to be equal. Wanting to commit suicide. Luckily I survived, but people who call it selfish don't really understand it. I can see where people are coming from when they say it's selfish, but they're not giving any thought to what the person who wants to do it feels. The worst end of depression is almost impossible to explain and describe. When you're at that lowest ebb, wanting to die isn't selfish because there is so much hope that has gone. How loved ones would feel if you died isn't even in the thought process. That can be seen as selfish in itself, but the person wanting to die doesn't even have it in their head. So if it doesn't exist to them, it can't be seen as selfish from their perspective. There's just no light at all, and people who claim it to be a selfish act are inadvertently taking the position that the person who wants to die does have light, even if it's a flicker. You have to remember that this is mental illness. Lacking selflessness etc. is a large reason why the person is mentally ill. At my lowest the thought was always that I'd be making the lives of loved ones easier if I wasn't here. I'm making them worry about me. There's an easy way to remove that worry. Not surprised I haven't seen this one yet. Racism. It's a topic most on Reddit are almost completely unfamiliar with, in that they've never truly felt the effects of it. Having a really close call with death. My brakes failed on my motorcycle when I was 19. I crashed into the back of a Jeep. The moment when I left the seat of the motorcycle and felt my body being thrown forward, it's not like anything I can really ever explain. I hope no one ever has to experience it, but I tell you what, it made me appreciate life a lot more. It also obliterated any need or want to drive recklessly, especially on a motorcycle. School shootings. You read about it on the news, feel sad for 5 seconds, rant about gun control, then move on with your life. Those who have gone through one stay frozen in their life. The world moved around them but they stand still. Emergency response vehicles give you panic attacks. You feel so much sympathy for other victims and communities dealing with the tragedy of a shooting. Family and friends can't do anything to help the anxiety and depression that results after. There are no words to say. Everything is going to be alright sounds like the biggest lie. All that helps is being around those who went through it as well. Except not really, because you feel panic while thinking the victim could have been your friend. Had they waited 10 extra minutes to go print or hadn't skipped class, they could have been the victim. It's the craziest whirlwind of emotions someone can feel. Raising a child with special needs. It is a true labor of true love, but knowing our child will always be like this weighs heavily on my spouse and I. Some days it's just so hard. My cousin has some retardation. She's so sweet and friendly but she can't even go to the bathroom herself. I'm just worried about what happens when my aunt and uncle are too old or dead to take care of her. Her sister probably will step up but then her whole life is sucked up by it. It really is just sad. Having actual OCD. Yes, I know what I'm doing is irrational, but I still have to do it. Definitely something people don't understand unless they have it. How big an ocean really is. Sure, you can look at it on a map, read the figures, or even fly over one in several hours. Spending weeks on a ship without ever being closer than several hundred miles from any land can make you feel so vulnerable and insignificant. That ship that looks so huge and strong sitting in port can be tossed around by the sea as if it weren't even there. Knowing that if something catastrophic happened and even if help were dispatched immediately, you could be treading water for days before help would arrive. Going swimming in crystal clear water that is over 7,000 meters deep truly is an experience. Dive underwater and you can see the rays of the sun as they disappear into the pitch black a few hundred feet below you. Makes you wonder what else is down there. One time out at sea, I looked at the chart we were sailing on and there was no land on it. A chart is a water map and depending on scale, can cover a few thousand square nautical miles. With my height of eye, the distance to the horizon was a little over 10 miles. I wondered how much water I was looking at right then, using 10 nautical miles as a radius for my visible circle. I checked the chart and got an average depth in that circle of 3,000 meters. I used these numbers to calculate the volume of a cylinder with these dimensions and then how many gallons of water to fill it. The number was staggeringly large. I tried to blow my own mind by saying this was just a tiny little circle in the ocean with a moderate depth. The amount of water in one ocean was nearly unfathomable. Nautical pun. Then to think, this was just one ocean on our planet, a smallish planet orbiting an unremarkably sized star in a galaxy of hundreds of billions of stars, and there are over 100 billion other galaxies that we know practically nothing about. The other you have to experience it experiences an earthquake. Being mugged. It's not as simple as fighting back when you're 12 years old and they threaten to shoot you. Don't try to be a hero. Working on Black Friday. It's one thing to be in the crowd. You buy your mini muffin maker and go home for lunch. The poor kid behind the counter has to deal with the insanity for the next 18 hours. When I worked it, I was ringing people up from 4 AM to 12 AM the next morning. After working the last Black Friday, I had finally finished my shift and gone home around 8 AM. I woke up when a friend texted me asking to hang out. I explained the situation, saying I was exhausted, but he called me an ass for not wanting to have lunch. Pee me off so much. Being deaf. Severe eczema. Chronic hay fever. I always get the AWW, you have the sniffles type response and I want to stab them in the face. Being unable to breathe through your nose, blocked sinuses and perpetually sore eyes for 6 months of the year is a hellish way to live. Frick people who think it's just the sniffles. A broken heart. You can't explain the pain and the desolation to anyone who hasn't felt it themselves. Having to convince people that you are not crazy so you can escape a psychiatric ward. Periods and everything that comes with them. People here have said some really good ones. Depression, thoughts of suicide, etc. I would cast my vote for all of these, but I would also like to add my own. Being cheated on. It's not something I ever expected to happen. and I often considered people who go crazy about that kind of thing to be justified in their feelings but also blowing it out of proportions. When I found out my ex was sleeping with another man and being affectionate, it was probably one of those few earth-shattering moments of my life. I had given my all to this man, tried to be understanding, tried to be a loving boyfriend, but it wasn't enough. Then one night before bed my ex wouldn't say he loved me back, and we had the talk and it all came out. I remember the world slowing down, having a crystal clarity and life just feeling so sharp and in focus, but also the incredible sensation of despair and anger, the betrayal. I remember thinking he wouldn't follow through with it. I remember thinking we could get through it. I didn't really feel angry until a bit of time had passed. I was angry and wanted him to suffer, and it was not my proudest moments. I did some things I regret and I made amends for it. Thankfully I had some wonderful friends during that time. One saw I started drinking more than I usually did and put a stop to that right away, thus avoiding alcoholism, and the other helped me find a therapist. All that helped. But if Cheaters is a real show, that anger and those feelings are so real, so true. Almost dying. Drugs, or anything that can alter somehow the classic perception of life you have. Doing humanitarian aid in third world countries. I think most people in the first world know they have it good, but until you actually go over there and spend some time with them, it never really hits you. Even when we have it bad, we have it good. Truly agree. I'm not a religious or spiritual person, but at one time I was, and in that time got to see starving orphans and fricked up situations in Haiti. I have a hard time describing what it felt like to people. Profoundly impacted my life and outlook. Probably planted the seeds that led me away from what brought me there. You have been visited by spooking Halloween doggo. You have a spooky future with lots of frights unless you comment heck off Halloween doggo. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.